backgrounds. It's always great to hear different opinions, and I'm really glad she actually mixed up the order of the speakers today, because pretty much what you've heard is exactly what I go through in a meeting with a client when they first approach me. I think it's literally the fifth question I ask is, do you have a will? Us as financial planners, financial wealth managers, our fundamental duty is to make sure that we make you aware of what can go wrong if certain things aren't done. So things like will planning, things like protection, things like mortgages, these are things we cover off even before we get to the stuff that the client may have come into us. The client may have come in and said, look, I've inherited £100,000, you need to invest. We won't even get to that kind of subject until we say, well, do you have a mortgage? Is it covered? What would happen if you don't work? If we've ticked all those boxes, then we can broach the subject that clients come in and we can look at the options available. I kind of set myself a challenge today. When I'm doing presentations, I always like to find a really obscure quote and then try to build a presentation around it. You've got to admit this is probably out there. Whether it's from Mark Twain or not, you never can trust the internet or not. Eat live frog first thing in the morning, and nothing worse will happen to you for the rest of the day. And I think trying to apply that to my job, although somewhat tenuous, is this is pretty much what I do. Is I try to turn that frog into a cappuccino. And if you're really lucky, I turn it into a glass of champagne. So my job is to take you and work with clients on a journey throughout their lives, putting the right things in place, looking at the right options. So in the worst case scenario, when you do stop working, or if you can't work anymore, the worst case is that frog isn't a frog. It's a warm house with some income coming in, whether it's from investments or policies or insurances and things like that. And then you can plan accordingly. The last thing you kind of want to be doing is relying on the base plan. So the base plan for most people in retirement, if they haven't done anything, is either working till you're 80, and if you're David Attenborough and you love what you're doing, that absolutely makes sense. But if you're in a job that you kind of just pays the bills, it makes life a lot more difficult. So basically, what is the base plan in the UK? If you've been working for 35 years and contributing into national insurance, you'll be eligible for a full state pension. At the moment, the full state pension, if you've contributed for 35 years, is £164.35 a week, which is £712 a month. So you might say, well, that sounds like a reasonable amount of money, and absolutely. The state pension is a great bedrock to rely on. Anyone born after 1953 will be 66, and if you're unlucky like me, born after 1978, you'll be 68. The likelihood is it will be moving to 70, 71. When the state pension came out, the amount of people who were claiming it was insignificant. It really wasn't even a blip on the national budget. Now it's contributing to a massive expenditure by the government. So what can the government do? They can't kind of kill us off early. They've just got to pay us less pension. And the way they do that is by increasing the state pension age. So what can you do to basically mitigate that? This is just a basic budget. You probably can't see it. I didn't realise the screen would be so small. But this is what £712 a month gets you. It pays your council tax, £120. Telephone, if you want the internet, 25 quid. Travelling, 125. Water, 25. Electric and gas, 90. Food, 300. And just on that fact, you've got £27 left over. So you might say, Alan, we don't spend £300 on food. Well, you spend £250. That takes up to £70 a month left over. You take your husband out or your wife out for a dinner, that's easily £70. So if that's the kind of level of retirement you want, it's kind of setting that frog quite low in terms of, are you going to be kissing frogs in retirement? So that's basically what we do, is take clients on a journey to say, well, what can we do? How can we mitigate that risk of ending up in a situation where you don't have much? So one of the things that Einstein called the seventh or the eighth wonder of the world is basically compound interest. So compound interest is a simple formula. It basically says if you're investing money and you reinvest that interest you get, it's going to grow a lot more exponentially than just a deposit rate. So that little blue line there is basically depositing money and the total interest you would have earned. Having it compounded, obviously you get double the amount. That's through no hard labour of yourself. It's letting your money work for you, and that's why Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, is the ability of money to beget money. You can see this in the news whenever you see kind of the millionaires, the billionaires. Their wealth increases every year, exponentially. 20 years ago they were a tiny proportion of the world wealth, and now they're up to 10% billionaires. So because they've got money, because they're taking opportunities, because they've got advisors working for them, they're making money. And that's true for everything. I mean, if you look at Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Amazon hasn't made a profit. I think he made a profit last year, very, very small. He actually purposely doesn't make a profit. But he's the richest man in the world. Mm-hmm. So you can say, well, how can he be the richest man when his company's technically never made a profit? Well, it's on expected earnings. Amazon basically controls pretty much, even if you don't have an Amazon account, I can almost guarantee in this room, Amazon probably holds your data, because they're the biggest service provider in terms of data in the world. They make Google kind of look fairly insignificant. So they have to supply the back end, the kind of network hubs and things for the governments, police forces, armies, they provide the raw data. So, what's the easiest way to get to £1 million by age 67? Well, quite simply, and the easiest, and I can almost guarantee that none of us in the room have done this, I haven't even done it for my kids, I'm playing catch up, you start a pension. Investing £25 a month from birth. If that grows at 8.5%,